I refused to keep babysitting for my brother and his wife, and that made my entire family turn against me. They're mad I'm taking a vacation instead of raising their child. I, 27M, have been dealing with a situation with my brother Sam, 34M, his wife Jessica, 31F, and their son Ethan, 5M, that is completely blown up in my face. It all started last year when Sam and Jessica moved to my city after Jessica got a job offer she couldn't refuse. I work as a software developer from home with flexible hours, which has allowed me to build a comfortable life here over the last 6 years since moving from Portugal. When they first moved here, they occasionally asked me to watch Ethan. Maybe once every couple of weeks, usually for a few hours when they had appointments or wanted a date night. I'm not particularly fond of children, never have been, never wanted any of my own, but Ethan was generally well behaved and quiet. He would sit and play with his toys or watch cartoons while I worked. It wasn't a big deal, and I was happy to help them settle into their new life in the city. Sam worked remotely like me, but for a different company. He handled most of the childcare during the day while Jessica was at her office job. Their arrangement seemed to work well for them, and I was just the occasional backup. My girlfriend Mia, 26F, and I were still able to maintain our lifestyle, which included traveling somewhere at least once a month. We both love experiencing new places and have made it a priority in our lives. Everything changed about 8 months ago. Sam came over for coffee one morning and told me he was switching careers. He had always wanted to work in architectural design, and he found an entry-level position at a local firm. The catch was that it required him to be in the office 5 days a week and came with a significant pay cut, almost 40% less than what he was making before. He seemed really excited about it, though, so I congratulated him. What Sam failed to mention that day was how his career change would affect me. Within 2 weeks, Jessica called asking if I could watch Ethan the following day. Then it was 2 days that week. Before I knew it, I was watching Ethan 3 or 4 days every week, for 6 to 8 hours at a time. My workload suffered. I had to reschedule meetings and push deadlines. My boss started noticing the drop in my productivity. To make matters worse, Ethan's behavior changed dramatically. He went from being a quiet, well-behaved kid to a complete nightmare. He started running through my apartment screaming at the top of his lungs during my Zoom calls. He would interrupt me constantly, demanding attention and snacks. He broke 2 of my collectible figurines that I had on display shelves. When I tried to set boundaries with him, he would throw tantrums, screaming and crying until I gave in. I spoke to Sam about it twice. The first time, he apologized and promised to talk to Ethan about behaving better. Nothing changed. The second time, he got defensive, saying Ethan was just being a normal kid and that I needed to be more patient. Jessica started dropping off Ethan with bags full of noisy toys that kept him occupied but made it impossible for me to concentrate. The real breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Jessica arrived to pick up Ethan after I had watched him for 9 hours straight. While Ethan was gathering his things, Jessica walked around my living room, stopping in front of my glass coffee table. Jessica ran her hand along the edge of the table and mentioned that I should really get rid of it before Ethan hurt himself. She pointed to my bookshelves and said those should be secured to the wall. Then she noticed my collection of art pieces on the mantel and suggested I put those away somewhere safe. Before leaving, she laughed and said they should probably baby-proof my place properly since they were planning to have another baby soon, a little girl they wanted to try for this year, and I would be watching 2 kids instead of 1. I stood there silently, trying to process what she had just said. My apartment is modern and minimalist with furniture I carefully selected. The glass coffee table was an expensive piece I bought to celebrate my first big project bonus. She was essentially telling me to redecorate my home to accommodate her children I never signed up to raise. Last week, Mia and I were sitting on my balcony discussing our plans for an upcoming trip. We hadn't been able to travel for 3 months because of my babysitting duties, and Mia was understandably frustrated. I promised her a 2-week trip to Thailand for Valentine's Day, starting February 15th. We were excited about it, looking at hotels and planning our itinerary, when Sam and Jessica showed up unannounced to drop off Ethan. They overheard our conversation about Thailand. Sam's face immediately darkened, and Jessica crossed her arms over her chest. After Ethan ran off to the guest room where I keep some toys for him, Sam asked how I planned to watch Ethan if I was going to be out of the country for 2 weeks. Before I could respond, Jessica jumped in, saying I needed to stop with these childish trips and start taking responsibility as an uncle. Something in me snapped. The months of frustration, the interruptions to my work, the entitlement they showed toward my time and space, it all came pouring out. I told them that their son was not my responsibility and that I wasn't going to put my life on hold because they couldn't arrange proper childcare. I pointed out that I never agreed to be their full-time babysitter and that Ethan's behavior had become impossible to manage while trying to work. Sam called me selfish. Jessica said I clearly had no concept of family duty. I responded by saying that family duty didn't mean being taken advantage of, and if they couldn't afford childcare on Sam's new salary, then maybe he should have thought about that before changing careers. The argument escalated from there. Jessica called me immature and said I was throwing away money on frivolous vacations when I could be helping them. I told them that what I did with my money was none of their business. Sam brought up how our parents had always helped each other out, and I reminded him that occasional help was different from what they were expecting from me. By the end of it, Jessica was in tears, Sam was red-faced with anger, and I was shaking with rage. They grabbed Ethan and his things and stormed out. Sam texted me later that night saying I had disappointed him and that he never thought I would turn my back on family. The next day, I received calls from both our parents and Jessica's parents. My father called me irresponsible and said I should be ashamed of myself for not supporting my brother. My mother reminded me that family comes first and that my trips could wait until Ethan was older. Jessica's mother sent me a long text about how I had made her daughter cry and how family members should stick together during tough times. I haven't responded to any of them. I turned off my phone notifications after the barrage of messages became too much. Mia is supportive but worried about the family rift. I've been staring at the ceiling every night, wondering if I'm really in the wrong here. Am I the asshole for refusing to continue being their unpaid babysitter and for prioritizing my own life and relationship? Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. Reading through your responses helped me realize that I wasn't crazy for feeling used. Many of you pointed out that Sam has always been the favorite child in our family, which hit home harder than I expected. Looking back, this favoritism is a big reason why I moved across the country for college and stayed away after graduation. Before I get into what happened after my post, let me provide some additional context that might help explain the situation better. The city I live in has one of the highest costs of living in the country. When Sam and Jessica decided to move here, they did very little financial planning. They assumed that with both of their incomes, they would manage fine. And they did, until Sam took a 40% pay cut for his new job. I wasn't aware of how bad their financial situation had become until recently. They're living in an apartment that's too expensive for their current income, they have 2 car payments, and Jessica's student loans are substantial. They've been living on credit cards for months. None of this excuses their behavior toward me, but it explains some of their desperation. Some background on our family. Our parents immigrated from Brazil when Sam was 7 and I was a baby. They worked multiple jobs to provide for us, so Sam often took care of me after school. My parents view this as a continuation of that relationship. In their minds, Sam helped raise me, so now I should help with Ethan. The cultural expectation of family support is strong in our household. I moved to my current city 8 years ago for college on a scholarship and stayed after getting a good job offer. Sam lived in Nebraska with Jessica's family for several years before moving here. Our parents still live in our hometown in New Jersey, and Jessica's parents are in Nebraska. There's a lot of geographical distance between all of us, which probably contributes to the intensity of their reaction. They want us to stick together since we're the only family members in this city. After taking some time to calm down and think about the advice I received, I decided to try one more conversation with Sam and Jessica. I invited them to meet at a coffee shop near their apartment last weekend. Neutral territory seemed safer than my place or theirs. When we sat down, I started by apologizing for calling Ethan a nightmare child and for some of the harsher things I said during our argument. I explained that while I stood by my position that I couldn't continue to be their regular childcare solution, I regretted the way I expressed my frustration. Sam seemed receptive at first. He accepted my apology and acknowledged that they had been asking a lot of me. For a moment, I thought we might reach an understanding. Then Jessica spoke up. She said that while she appreciated my apology, I clearly didn't understand the challenges of raising a child in this expensive city. She mentioned that our parents had called them repeatedly, encouraging them to lean on me more, not less, because I was single and carefree, completely ignoring my 5-year relationship with Mia. I was surprised to learn that both sets of parents had been actively encouraging Sam and Jessica to use me as their childcare solution. According to Jessica, my mother had told her that I needed to grow up and take on family responsibilities and that my globetrotting lifestyle was selfish. Jessica's parents had apparently suggested that since I worked from home and made good money, I should be happy to help out family. I explained to them how exhausted and frustrated I'd become over the past months. I told them how my work performance had suffered, how Mia and I had canceled 3 planned trips, and how the constant interruptions were affecting my mental health. I made it clear that while I cared about them and Ethan, I simply couldn't continue to watch him regularly anymore. They needed to find another childcare solution. The conversation took a turn when Jessica asked what I suggested they do instead. Before I could respond with suggestions about daycare options or after-school programs, she dropped the bomb. If I wouldn't watch Ethan, then the least I could do was pay for his childcare and help with some of their other expenses. After all, I had enough money to jet off to another country every month. I was speechless. The request wasn't entirely surprising given their behavior, but the entitlement in her tone was shocking. I might have considered helping them financially under different circumstances, if they had approached me respectfully and treated my time and space with consideration. But after months of taking advantage of me, followed by guilt trips and family pressure, this demand was the last straw. I stood up without a word and walked out of the coffee shop. My phone started buzzing with texts from Sam before I even reached my car. I switched it to Do Not Disturb and drove home. When I checked my messages later that evening, I had texts from Sam, Jessica, my parents, and even Jessica's parents, all expressing disappointment in my selfishness and abandonment of family. I haven't responded to any of them. Instead, I confirmed my booking for Thailand with Mia, scheduled a meeting with my boss to discuss getting back on track with my projects, and spent the weekend rearranging my apartment back to the way I liked it before Ethan became a regular visitor. Many commenters suggested going no contact with my family. I wasn't ready to take that step initially. Despite everything, they're still my family. But their reaction to this situation has made me realize that they don't respect me as an adult with my own life and priorities. So for now, I'm keeping my distance and focusing on repairing the damage to my work and relationship. Am I making the right choice here? Has anyone dealt with family members who see you as nothing more than a resource to be used? Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and the situation has developed in ways I never anticipated. I've been holding off on posting because I needed time to process everything and decide how to move forward. After my last update, I went on the Thailand trip with Mia as planned. It was exactly what we needed, 2 weeks away from the drama, exploring beautiful beaches and temples, and reconnecting as a couple. I kept my phone on airplane mode most of the time, only checking emails occasionally for work. It was the first time in months that I felt like I could breathe freely. When we returned, there were dozens of missed calls and messages from my family. Most were variations on the same theme. I was selfish, irresponsible, and abandoning my family in their time of need. My mother left a particularly hurtful voicemail saying she had failed as a parent if this was how I treated family. I deleted most of the messages without listening to them completely. What I didn't expect was to find a letter taped to my apartment door. It was from Sam, handwritten on notebook paper. Unlike the angry texts and calls, this letter had a completely different tone. He apologized for taking advantage of my time and for not respecting my boundaries. He admitted that they had been using me as a free childcare solution and that it wasn't fair to me. He explained that after our coffee shop meeting, he and Jessica had a serious conversation about their finances and priorities. The letter went on to say that he had taken a second job working evenings and weekends at a home improvement store to help cover their expenses. They had also found a daycare center that offered a sliding scale fee based on income. Most surprisingly, he wrote that he had confronted our parents about their role in the situation, telling them to stop pressuring me and that he needed to solve his own problems. I was skeptical at first. The sudden change seemed too good to be true after months of entitlement and guilt trips. I decided to wait a few days before responding, to see if this was just another manipulation tactic. 4 days after finding the letter, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was from Sam's coworker at the design firm, who had gotten my number from Sam's emergency contact list. Sam had collapsed at work and been taken to the hospital. The doctors suspected exhaustion and possible stress-related health issues. I went to the hospital immediately. When I arrived, Jessica was there with Ethan, who was unusually quiet and subdued. Jessica looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, unwashed hair, wearing what looked like the same clothes from the day before. She didn't seem angry to see me, just defeated. While Sam was sleeping, Jessica told me what had been happening since our last encounter. Sam was working his regular 45-hour week at the design firm, then doing 20 hours at the home improvement store on evenings and weekends. Jessica had picked up extra shifts at her job too. They were barely seeing each other, tag-teaming childcare when they weren't working. The daycare was helping, but it was still a financial strain. What shocked me most was learning that my parents and Jessica's parents had essentially cut them off after Sam stood up for me. According to Jessica, when Sam told our parents to stop pressuring me, my father told him he needed to man up and handle his responsibilities without complaining. Jessica's parents were similarly unsupportive, suggesting that they move back to Nebraska if they couldn't make it work in the city. Sam was released from the hospital the next day with orders to rest and reduce his stress levels. I drove them home and saw their apartment for the first time in months. It was a far cry from the well-organized home they used to keep. There were piles of laundry, unwashed dishes, and toys scattered everywhere. Evidence of their exhaustion was visible in every corner. I stayed to help clean up while Sam rested. Jessica and I had an honest conversation about their situation. She admitted that they were drowning, financially, emotionally, and physically. The move to the city, Sam's career change, the cost of living, it had all become too much. She apologized for her behavior toward me, especially for demanding money at the coffee shop. She explained that she had been desperate and listening too much to what her parents and my parents were saying about my responsibility to help. The most revealing part of our conversation was when she confessed that she resented Sam's career change. She had supported it outwardly because he seemed so passionate about it, but the financial consequences had been devastating for them. This resentment had been spilling over into other areas of their lives, including their approach to childcare and their relationship with me. I left their apartment with mixed feelings. On one hand, I was still hurt by how they had treated me and wary of being pulled back into their problems. On the other hand, seeing them struggling so openly, without the entitlement and anger they had shown before, made me reconsider my complete detachment from their situation. After discussing it with Mia, I decided on a middle path. I wouldn't go back to regular babysitting or give them money directly, but I would help them find more sustainable solutions for their situation. I'm still maintaining boundaries, but I'm not completely cutting them off either. I'll post another update once things develop further. Right now, I'm trying to navigate this new territory where I support my brother and his family without sacrificing my own well-being and priorities. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and I think this will be my final post on this situation. Things have stabilized into what feels like a sustainable arrangement, though the journey to get here was anything but smooth. After Sam's health scare, I hired a financial advisor as a one-time gift for them. The advisor spent 3 sessions going through their finances and helping them create a realistic budget and debt repayment plan. It was an eye-opening experience for both Sam and Jessica. The advisor didn't sugarcoat anything. They were living beyond their means in almost every category, from their apartment to their car payments to their credit card spending. Based on the advisor's recommendations, Sam and Jessica made some difficult but necessary decisions. They broke their lease and moved to a smaller apartment in a less expensive neighborhood. They sold one of their cars and started using public transportation more often. They created a strict budget for groceries and other expenses. Most importantly, they found a more affordable daycare solution for Ethan, a family-run daycare home that charged half what they were paying before. Sam cut back his hours at the home improvement store to just one evening and one weekend day, which helped his health improve. Jessica's workplace agreed to let her work remotely 2 days a week, which saved on childcare costs for those days. They're still struggling financially, but the situation is no longer as desperate as it was before. As for our relationship, we've established clear boundaries. I agreed to watch Ethan one Saturday a month so they can have a date night or catch up on rest. This arrangement has been working well for several reasons. It's planned in advance, it's limited to 1 day a month, and Ethan's behavior has improved significantly now that his parents are less stressed and more present. The most surprising development has been with our parents. After staying silent for weeks, I finally called my mother to hear her side of things. The conversation was tense at first, with her insisting that I needed to do more for Sam and Jessica. I calmly explained my perspective, that I had been helping them for months at great cost to my own work and relationship, and that their expectations had become unreasonable. What I didn't expect was for her to break down halfway through our conversation. She admitted that she and my father had been sending Sam money every month until they stood up for me, at which point they cut him off financially. Their anger toward me wasn't just about my refusal to babysit, it was also about their own guilt for stopping their financial support of Sam and Jessica. In their minds, if I picked up the slack, they could justify their decision to withdraw their help. This revelation changed my understanding of the entire situation. My parents had been enabling Sam's financial irresponsibility for years, long before he and Jessica moved to my city. When they finally stopped, they expected me to take over that role. The pressure they put on me was a projection of their own guilt and conflicted feelings about finally setting boundaries with Sam. I've had several conversations with my parents since then. While we don't agree on everything, we've reached a better understanding of each other's perspectives. They've even started to recognize that my lifestyle choices, though different from what they expected from me, aren't wrong or selfish, just different. Jessica's parents have been less receptive to change. They still believe that families should sacrifice everything for each other, regardless of the cost. This has created some tension between Jessica and her parents, which she's been navigating with mixed success. As for Mia and me, we're back to our regular travel schedule, though we've adjusted it slightly to accommodate my monthly babysitting commitment. We recently returned from a week in Mexico and are planning a trip to Portugal later this year. My work performance has improved now that I'm not constantly interrupted, and I even received a promotion last month. What I've learned from this whole experience is that helping family is important, but not at the expense of my own well-being and future. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary for healthy relationships. Sam and Jessica needed to face the reality of their financial situation without using me as a safety net. The short-term pain led to long-term improvements in their lives and in our relationship as siblings. I don't regret standing my ground, though I wish I had done it more calmly and clearly from the beginning. The next time Sam, Jessica, or my parents try to push past my boundaries, I'll address it immediately instead of letting resentment build until I explode. For now, we've found a balance that works for everyone. I'm cautiously optimistic that we can maintain this healthier dynamic going forward, though I know there will probably be bumps along the way. At the very least, we're all more aware of our patterns and triggers, which makes it easier to navigate conflicts when they arise. Thank you to everyone who provided advice and support throughout this journey. It's been a challenging few months, but I'm in a better place now, both with my family and in my understanding of myself. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My in-laws demanded we contribute $2,000 to a party. When we refused, they turned my husband against me. Now I'm a single mom at 28I, 28F, am going through a really tough time with my husband Anthony, 30M, and his family. We've been married for 5 years and have a 2-year-old daughter, Amy. Recently, Anthony's younger sister Julia, 18F, graduated high school and got accepted into a prestigious university. Anthony's parents wanted to throw her a big celebration party, and that's where all our problems started. Let me give you some backstory. Anthony and I met during our sophomore year of college. We were both working at the campus bookstore to help pay for our tuition. I remember the first time I saw him, he was struggling to carry a stack of textbooks that was taller than him, and he had this determined look on his face. I offered to help, and we ended up talking for hours after our shift ended. We came from similar backgrounds, both from middle-class families where money was always a bit tight. My dad was a high school teacher, and my mom worked part-time at a local bakery. Anthony's dad owned a small plumbing business, and his mom was a nurse. We both grew up understanding the value of hard work and saving money. Throughout college, Anthony and I supported each other. We'd have study dates in the library, sharing a single cup of coffee between us because we couldn't afford to. We'd splurge on date nights by buying a $5 pizza and eating it on the roof of my apartment building, watching the stars. Those were some of the happiest times of my life, even though we had nothing. After graduation, things were tough. Anthony got a job as a junior account manager at a small firm, and I started as an intern at a marketing agency. We moved into a tiny studio apartment that barely fit our bed and a small table. The kitchen was so small we could barely open the refrigerator door without hitting the opposite wall. But it was ours, and we were proud of it. For the first few years of our marriage, we lived paycheck to paycheck. We drove old cars that broke down constantly, and our idea of a fancy dinner was when we could afford to add guacamole to our Chipotle burritos. But we were happy. We had each other, and we were building our life together. Things started to look up last year. Anthony had been working incredibly hard, often staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. His dedication paid off when he got a big promotion to senior account manager. Around the same time, I landed a job as a marketing coordinator at a growing tech startup. Suddenly, our financial situation improved dramatically. We were finally able to buy our first home, a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood with good schools. It wasn't anything fancy, but to us, it felt like a mansion. We spent weeks painting and fixing it up, making it our own. The day we moved in, Anthony carried me over the threshold, just like he did when we first got married. That night, as we sat on our new porch swing, watching the sunset, we felt like we had finally made it. With our new financial stability, we started thinking about the future. We opened a savings account for Amy's education. We remembered how hard it was for us to pay for college, and we were determined to give our daughter a better start. Every month, we put aside a portion of our salaries into this account, even if it meant cutting back on other things. That brings us to the current situation. Julia, Anthony's younger sister, just graduated high school. She's always been the baby of the family, doted on by their parents. Don't get me wrong, Julia's a sweet girl, and she's worked hard in school. She got accepted into an Ivy League university, which is a big deal for the family. Anthony's parents were over the moon and immediately started planning a huge graduation party for her. Last Sunday, Anthony's parents invited us over for dinner. They were excited, talking non-stop about Julia's achievements and the party they were planning. That's when they dropped the bomb. They wanted us to contribute $2,000 towards the party expenses. I nearly choked on my drink when I heard the amount. Anthony's mom went on to explain their grand plans, renting out the ballroom at the fanciest hotel in town, hiring a professional DJ, getting gourmet catering, the works. She talked about it like it was the most natural thing in the world for us to contribute such a large amount. Anthony and I exchanged looks across the table. We had just bought our house a few months ago, and our savings had taken a hit. Plus, we were focused on building up Amy's college fund. $2,000 was a lot of money for us, especially for a one-night party. I tried to explain our situation gently. We're so proud of Julia, I said, but $2,000 is a bit out of our budget right now. We've just bought the house, and we're trying to save for Amy's future. Maybe we could contribute in other ways? I could help with the decorations But before I could finish, Anthony's mom cut me off. Her face had turned cold. I thought you two were doing well now, she said. You have that big house and those fancy jobs. Don't you want your sister-in-law to have a special day? You're part of this family too, you know. Anthony's dad chimed in, his voice disapproving. When we were your age, we always put family first. We would have done anything for our siblings. I'm disappointed you can't do the same. Their words stung. Anthony and I had always been there for his family, just in ways we could afford. We babysit Julia and their younger brother Tom whenever their parents need a break. We helped Anthony's dad with his business taxes last year when he was struggling to figure them out. We might not have much money, but we give our time and effort freely. The rest of the dinner was tense and awkward. Anthony was quiet, pushing food around his plate. I could see the conflict on his face, torn between his parents' expectations and our financial reality. On the drive home, Anthony finally spoke up. Maybe we could find a way to contribute, he said hesitantly. We could cut back on some things for a few months. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Anthony, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, we've worked so hard to get where we are. We have responsibilities now, a mortgage, bills, and Amy to think about. We can't just throw $2,000 at a party, Anthony sighed heavily. I know, but it's for Julia. She's worked so hard, and it would mean a lot to my parents. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the money. It was about Anthony's relationship with his family, about long-standing dynamics that ran deeper than I had realized. The situation got even worse the next day. Julia called Anthony, crying. Apparently, their parents had told her about our reluctance to contribute. She accused us of being jealous of her success and trying to ruin her party. She said she always knew we didn't really consider her family. Anthony was devastated after the call. He's always been protective of Julia, and hearing her so upset shook him. He started second-guessing our decision, saying maybe we were being too selfish. Now, I feel stuck. On one hand, I understand wanting to celebrate Julia's achievements. Getting into an Ivy League school is a big deal, and she deserves to be recognized for her hard work. Plus, I hate seeing Anthony torn between his birth family and our little family. But on the other hand, $2,000 is a lot of money for us. We're not struggling anymore, but we're not rolling in cash either. That $2,000 could go towards Amy's future, or towards home repairs, or into our emergency fund. It feels irresponsible to spend so much on a one-night party. Anthony's family makes us feel like we're bad people for not contributing, but I don't think it's fair to expect us to spend so much. They don't seem to understand or respect our financial situation and priorities. The whole situation has caused a lot of tension between Anthony and me. He feels guilty and is seriously considering taking money out of our savings to give to his parents. I'm strongly against this idea. We worked hard for that money, and it's meant for our daughter's future. But Anthony says I'm being selfish and not considering his family's feelings. I don't know what to do. Am I wrong for not wanting to contribute to the party? How can I make Anthony's family understand our position without causing more drama? And most importantly, how can I get Anthony to see that we need to prioritize our own family's financial security? I love Anthony, and I want him to have a good relationship with his family. But I also feel like we need to stand firm in our decision and set boundaries. I'm worried that if we give in this time, it will set a precedent for future demands. This whole situation has me questioning a lot of things. Are Anthony and I on the same page about our financial goals? How do we balance our responsibilities to our daughter with Anthony's desire to please his family? And how do we navigate these complex family dynamics without damaging relationships? I could really use some advice. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can we move forward from here as a united front? Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and I wish I had better news to share. Things have only gotten worse, and I'm feeling more lost and frustrated than ever. Anthony and I had a huge fight about the party situation. It started when I came home from work early one day and found Anthony on the phone with his mom. He was telling her that we would find a way to contribute the full $2,000. I was shocked. We hadn't agreed to this, and we certainly couldn't afford it. When he got off the phone, I confronted him. He admitted that he had been feeling guilty and pressured by his family. He said he couldn't stand the thought of disappointing them or ruining Julia's big day. We argued for hours. I tried to remind him of our financial goals and responsibilities, but he kept insisting that family should come first. The next day, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Anthony had taken $1,000 from our savings account without telling me. He had already given it to his parents for Julia's party. When I confronted him about it, he got defensive. He said he was tired of me controlling all our money and that he had a right to spend it how he wanted. I was furious. This wasn't just about the money, it was about trust. We had always made financial decisions together, and now he had gone behind my back. I felt betrayed and scared. If he could do this once, what was to stop him from doing it again? The party happened last weekend, and it was as extravagant as Anthony's parents had planned. They had rented out the grand ballroom of the fanciest hotel in town. There was a red carpet at the entrance, complete with a professional photographer taking pictures of guests as they arrived. They had even managed to invite some local celebrities, a news anchor and a former NFL player who had graduated from Julia's new university. Julia looked beautiful in an expensive designer dress that must have cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. She was glowing with happiness, surrounded by her friends and admirers. Part of me was happy for her, but I couldn't help feeling a twinge of resentment. All I could think about was the money that had gone into this one-night event. Anthony and I attended, but the atmosphere was tense. His parents kept making passive-aggressive comments about how some people couldn't be bothered to fully contribute to their sister's special day. At one point, Anthony's mom loudly told another guest how disappointing it was that certain family members didn't value Julia's achievements as much as they should. Julia barely spoke to us throughout the event. When she did look our way, it was with cold, accusatory glances. It was clear that she blamed us for nearly ruining her party. I felt like we were outsiders at a family event, despite having contributed a significant amount of money. The worst part came during the speeches. Anthony's dad got up and gave a long, emotional talk about how proud they were of Julia and how the whole family had come together to make this day possible. He specifically thanked several relatives for their generous contributions, pointedly leaving us out. The omission was obvious, and I could feel people glancing our way. I felt humiliated and angry. Anthony, on the other hand, looked guilty and uncomfortable. Throughout the event, he kept trying to appease his family. He laughed too loudly at their jokes, agreed with everything they said, and kept trying to insert himself into conversations where he clearly wasn't wanted. It was like he was a different person around them, eager to please and desperate for approval. When we got home, I told Anthony how hurt I was by his family's behavior and his failure to stand up for us. He got defensive and said I was overreacting. He insisted that family events like this were important and that we should have found a way to contribute the full amount without complaint. I reminded him that we had our own family to think about, him, me, and Amy. I asked him why his sister's party was more important than our daughter's future. He didn't have a good answer but accused me of trying to drive a wedge between him and his family. The next day, I discovered that Anthony had been hiding something else from me. While going through our mail, I found a statement for a credit card I didn't recognize. Anthony had applied for a new credit card without telling me and had maxed it out to cover the rest of the money for Julia's party. When I confronted him about it, he broke down. He admitted that he felt incredibly pressured by his family and didn't know how to say no to them. He said he was afraid of disappointing them and losing their love and approval. It was a side of Anthony I had never seen before, and it scared me. I'm at a loss. I feel like I can't trust Anthony anymore. He's risked our financial stability and our daughter's future to please his family. How can we move forward from this? Is there any way to salvage our relationship and get Anthony to prioritize our family? I'm also worried about the long-term implications of this situation. Anthony's family now seems to think they can make financial demands of us whenever they want. How do we set boundaries without causing more family drama? I love Anthony, and I want our marriage to work. But I also need to protect myself and Amy. I'm considering separating our finances, but I'm afraid that will only drive a bigger wedge between us. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can I get Anthony to understand the seriousness of what he's done? Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I've had to make some difficult decisions. After discovering Anthony's secret credit card debt, I realized I needed to take steps to protect myself and Amy financially. I spent a lot of time thinking about my options. I love Anthony, and I want our marriage to work, but I can't ignore the breach of trust and the potential consequences of his actions. After a lot of soul-searching and a consultation with a lawyer friend, I decided to separate our finances. I opened a new bank account in my name only and started depositing my paychecks there. I also took half of our savings and put it in a separate account for Amy's future. It broke my heart to do this, but I kept thinking about how hard we'd worked for that money and how it was meant to secure our daughter's future. When Anthony found out what I had done, he was furious. He accused me of not trusting him and said I was overreacting to a one-time mistake. But it wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a pattern of behavior that showed me Anthony's priorities weren't aligned with mine. The situation with Anthony's family has only gotten worse. They've started planning a big family vacation to celebrate Julia starting college. They expect us to contribute a significant amount towards renting a beach house. Anthony seems eager to please them, regardless of our own financial situation or the fact that we can't really afford a lavish vacation right now. I've tried repeatedly to talk to Anthony about setting boundaries with his family, but he refuses to listen. He says I'm being selfish and that family should always come first. But I feel like he's forgetting that Amy and I are his family too. It's like he's stuck in this mindset of being the obedient son, even though he's a grown man with his own family now. The situation came to a head last week when Anthony's parents showed up at our house unannounced. They had come to talk some sense into me. For hours, they lectured me about family values and accused me of trying to come between Anthony and his family. They brought up how they had always welcomed me into their family, conveniently forgetting all the times they had made me feel like an outsider, and how ungrateful I was being now. What hurt the most was that Anthony just sat there silently throughout this entire ordeal. He didn't defend me or our decisions. He just stared at the floor, occasionally nodding along with his parents. It was like I was alone against his entire family. After they left, I told Anthony I couldn't continue living like this. Our marriage was suffering, and the constant stress was affecting my health and my ability to be a good mother to Amy. I suggested we try couples counseling to work on our issues, but he refused. He said there was nothing wrong with how he and his family behaved, and that I was the one with a problem. That's when I realized that Anthony's loyalty to his family of origin is stronger than his commitment to me and Amy. It's a painful realization, but I know I need to do what's best for my daughter and myself. I'm now seriously considering divorce. The thought terrifies me. I never imagined I'd be a single mom at 28. I'm scared of being alone, of the financial struggles, of how this will affect Amy. But I'm more scared of what will happen if I stay in this situation. Every day, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. Anthony and I barely talk anymore, except to argue about money or his family. I've noticed that Amy has become quieter and clingier, clearly picking up on the tension between us. It breaks my heart to see how our issues are affecting her. I've started looking into our options. I've been secretly meeting with a divorce lawyer to understand what the process would look like. She's helped me understand my rights and what I need to do to protect myself and Amy financially. It feels surreal to be having these conversations, but I know I need to be prepared. I've also been reaching out to old friends, trying to rebuild my support network. I realized how isolated I've become in the past few years, focusing all my energy on my marriage and motherhood. It's been nice to reconnect with people who knew me before I was Anthony's wife or Amy's mom. I could use some advice on how to proceed. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? And how can I protect Amy through all of this? I'm especially worried about co-parenting with Anthony if we do get divorced. How do I shield her from his family's drama? Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. After much thought and several attempts at discussing our issues, I decided to file for divorce from Anthony. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but I knew it was necessary for my own well-being and for Amy's future. When I told Anthony about my decision, he was shocked. Despite all our arguments and the tension between us, he hadn't taken my concerns seriously. He thought I would eventually get over it and things would go back to normal. He tried to convince me to stay, promising he would change and stand up to his family. But after months of broken promises, I couldn't trust his words anymore. The divorce process has been difficult, to say the least. Anthony's family has been spreading rumors about me in our social circle. They're saying I'm cold-hearted, greedy, and that I never really loved Anthony. It hurts to hear these things, especially from people who have known me for years. What's worse is that they've been trying to convince Anthony to seek full custody of Amy. They claim I'm an unfit mother because I don't prioritize family. It's absurd and infuriating. Everything I've done has been to protect and provide for Amy. Fortunately, my lawyer has been incredibly helpful. We've documented all the financial issues, including Anthony's secret credit card debt and the money he took from our savings. This has helped us build a strong case for why I should have primary custody of Amy. Despite the challenges, I'm starting to feel more confident in my decision. I've reconnected with old friends who have been incredibly supportive. My college roommate, Sarah, has been especially amazing. She's been through a divorce herself and has become my rock through this process. I've also started seeing a therapist to work through my emotions and learn how to co-parent effectively with Anthony. It's been helpful to have a neutral party to talk to, someone who can give me strategies for dealing with Anthony and his family. Amy is adjusting to the new situation better than I expected. We've kept her routine as stable as possible, and I make sure she has regular video calls with Anthony when she's with me. It's not easy, but I know this is better than exposing her to constant family tension and financial instability. As for me, I'm focusing on building a stable and happy life for Amy and myself. I've taken on some freelance marketing work to boost our income, and I'm looking into going back to school part-time to get my MBA. It's scary starting over at 28, but I'm also excited about the possibilities ahead. Anthony and I are still working out the details of our divorce settlement and custody arrangement. It's been tense, but we're both trying to put Amy's needs first. I hope that in time, we can develop a respectful co-parenting relationship. I'm sharing this final update to thank everyone who offered advice and support through this difficult time. To anyone in a similar situation, remember that you deserve respect and financial security. It's okay to prioritize yourself and your children. Family is important, but not at the cost of your own well-being and future.